Okay, let's continue. This time, another situation when the project's life is shorter than analysis period. This is a continuation still. One of the scenarios no, under evaluation of mutually exclusive alternatives. Okay. So previously we have discussed project's life is longer than analysis periods. How do we analyze such scenario? We have discussed an example of how we analyze such case. This time, how do we evaluate alternatives if the different projects or alternatives have life that is shorter than the analysis period? So, for example, kailangan mo the analysis period is 10 years, for example, pero yung equipment na bibilhin mo, mga would last lang for 8 years or 7 years. So how would you address the remaining years, no, until the end of the analysis or study period? Okay. So when project lives are shorter than the required service period, we must consider how, at the end of a project's life, we will satisfy the rest of the required service period. Okay. Replacement projects implemented when the initial project has reached the limits of its useful life are needed in such case. Okay, sufficient replacement projects must be analyzed to match or exceed the required service period. So let's try to have an example. How do we um, address or evaluate when uh, evaluate this kind of projects or problems? Okay. So we have another COE company ulit. So COE Manufacturing Company is planning to modernize one of its distribution centers located in the city of Batak. Okay. So two options to move goods in the distribution center have been under consideration. So number one, a conveyor system, and number two, a forklift trucks. So conveyor system and forklift trucks. The firm expects that the distribution center will be operational for the next 10 years. So 10 years yung study period natin or analysis period natin. And then it will be converted into a factory outlet. The conveyor system would last 8 years, whereas the forklift trucks would last only 6 years. Okay? So the two options will be designed differently, but will have identical capacities and will do exactly the same job. Okay. The expected cash flows for the two options, including maintenance costs, salvage values, and tax effects, are as follows. So, ito yung tabulation ng cash flow natin for the conveyor system and the lift trucks. Okay. So, since each option has a shorter life than the required service period, which is 10 years, okay? So conveyor system has 8 years, lift trucks 6 years lang. Okay? So we need to make an explicit assumption of how the service requirement is to be met. So we're now going to plan what are we going to do. Okay, ito lang yung life ng conveyor system, ito lang yung lift trucks. So ano yung mga options natin to fill in no yung remaining years. So sa conveyor system, may 2 years pa no since 8 years lang yung life ng conveyor system. And then yung lift trucks naman, merong 4 na taon na gap no para matapos yung analysis period. Okay? So these are would be our assumptions no. So if the company goes with the conveyor system, it will spend 900,000 pesos to overhaul the system to extend its service beyond 8 years. So meron, i-overhaul mo siya na that would cost 900,000 pesos. No? The expected salvage value of the system at the end of the required service, which is 10 years, will be 300,000 pesos. The annual operating and maintenance cost will be 650,000. Ito. So, 650,000 yung ating annual operations and maintenance cost. So, meron tayong ayan, yan na. Sa forklift naman, if the company goes with the lift truck or yung forklift natin option, the company will consider leasing a comparable lift truck that has an annual lease payment of 400,000 payable at the beginning. So take note, at the beginning, hindi siya at the end, but at the beginning of each year. Ibig sabihin, annuity due siya. No? Annuity due. With an annual operating cost of 750,000 pesos for the remaining required service period, which is 4 years for lift trucks. With the scenario, which option should be which should the firm select at MARR of 12%? Okay. Okay, so that's it. So those are the assumptions. So, medyo mababa yung MARR natin, 12% lang. So let's try to analyze conveyor system, option A natin. Okay. Okay. I think I had committed some typographical error. The salvage value of conveyor system is 300,000 at the end of 10 years. Pero ang nalagay ko sa table is 250,000. So please correct this. This should be 300,000. May 300,000 dapat ito, okay? Hindi siya 250,000 yung salvage value. Okay. Okay, so yung conveyor system natin, so good for 8 years siya. So meron tayong initial investment na 3.4 million and then we have annual operations and maintenance cost at 650,000. And at the end of 8 years, magkakaroon tayo ng overhaul para magamit ulit natin efficiently yung conveyor system. Okay. That would cost 900,000 pesos and annual operations and maintenance costs will continue to be 650,000. And at the end of 10 years, meron tayong salvage value na 300,000 pesos. Okay, so using net present worth, yung method natin. Okay, using net present worth or net, since it is a service project, ito, so we're dealing with costs. So, pwede rin net present cost or net present worth. Okay lang din naman. The computation would just be the same lang naman, no? So, ang net present worth natin, ito. So, yung present worth nitong annual operations and maintenance cost, i-transfer natin lahat yan. It's equivalent, compute natin yung equivalent present cost niyan. Equivalent present cost ng 900,000 and then equivalent present worth ng 300,000 dito. Ipunta natin lahat sa present value. Okay? So lahat ng downwards na arrows ay negative, lahat ng upwards ay positive since it's an inflow. Okay, so this would be our formula to do that, our equation, no, to solve the problem. Okay. So our net present worth for conveyor A, or the conveyor system I should say, or option A, is negative 7.34 million. It's approximately 7.34 million. Okay. So that is conveyor system or option A. Then for lift trucks naman, so initial investment natin is 2 million. Annual operations and maintenance cost is 750,000. Okay. And then may salvage value tayo na 200,000 at the end of 6 years. Okay. Then after ng 6 years, 6 years, upahan natin yung lift trucks. So we're going to lease yung lift trucks. Magbabayad tayo at the beginning of each year. So at the beginning of 7 years, 400,000. At the beginning of 8th year, 400,000 ulit. At the beginning of 9th year, 100,000. At the beginning of 10th year, 100,000. It's an annuity due. Okay? Okay. All right. And then, that's it. That's our cash flow diagram. And we're now going to compute for the present cost or present worth of all yung nandyan sa ating cash flow diagram. So this would be our equation. Okay. So we have the initial investment P. A1 is yung 70,000, 750,000. And then A2 natin yung annuity due na 400,000. Ito yung salvage value natin. So additive siya, so plus yan since it's an inflow. Okay, so that's it. Substitute natin sa equation. So remember, ang MARR natin is 12%. Medyo mababa, ano? Okay, so the net present worth for option B or for lift trucks is 6.83 million. Yung option A, 7.34 million. So since this is a service project, so pag service project, we are comparing the cost, no? So kapag cost, syempre, yung pinakamura ang pipiliin natin, the least amount of cost, which is, in this case, cheaper na lift truck na lang or option B ang ating gagamitin. Okay? Ito na yung ating gamitin for the project. Okay? So, that's it. That's how we analyze. We will discuss a different method in the next video. So, still, project's life is shorter than analysis period. Okay. Oops. Doon na yung next method. Okay, so next video na lang yung next na method natin.